what I would like to have happen. So wait, am I even on? Am I on the same screen? Maybe not. Okay. All right. Here, just a second. Oy, oy, oy. Where does that live? Which one am I on now? I'm on this one. I think I need to be here. I need to be here. Boom. Okay. All right. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, inspired, I hope, by, oh Lord. Inspired, I hope, by Queen Butitsa and Mayonnaise and Atanga and Achilles and Robin Hood and Perun, Lightning, and Thunder God from Sonic Warriors paganism. The Thunder Gods are always the best. King Arthur and his legends and Andraste and anybody else that you found / are finding. Again, I would like to now say, well, why does this matter besides learning some cool names and some cool feats? One of the things is with bringing the culture hero, bringing things into a sharper focus of what are the long-lasting impacts that some of these great people have made. How do those great people reflect the things that really matter to that group? And then how did they get there? Because once we start getting into the cool culture hero stories, and we start looking beyond just like, oh, I'm half God, like that kind of cuts us out of the equation, unfortunately. But if you look for, if we start looking at this cycle in terms of people don't just magically show up at like the big event fully formed, like that there is a place that they start from, and there are people along the way and transitions to different levels of skill along the way, and there are helpers and there are guides and there are things, little tests and things that they need to get ready for. Well, frankly, you are living in a world that has been influenced by people doing some pretty cool things. And again, as I have stated earlier, you're going to be doing those cool things. It is very clear to me that that is going to be happening. So, yeah. So we've discussed what it is that makes a hero and a myth. This is your opportunity to think about how these concepts apply to the outside world, your world. Can we rely on this archetype today to inform our understanding of what makes a great man or a woman? Can you re-examine people known to you in light of the hero's journey archetype? Who are our modern heroes? What do they tell us about ourselves? Now, before we go into this, well, choose someone from our modern era who embodies the best of their society or their culture or their group, who has attained something significant within their field. They do need to be a real person. At this point, I want you to feel free to be, to look in the areas that matter to you. I was thinking about how on one of my daily walks with my dog, about the things that are still very much in history books are the people who represent the political and military achievements. And this is not to denigrate, but just from an observational standpoint, the eras of history are often kind of, again, defined by political and military heroes and spheres and whatnot. But if I stop and think about like, well, how much is my day-to-day experience reflected in like the presidents that I've lived through, that doesn't necessarily show much about like the lived lives sometimes. And I'm being very reductive, I realize that I am. But so you live in a bunch of different spheres. I mean, and so there are things in decision making and decision makers / like people making changes in all these different spheres. So looking at, when I say like looking at the culture or the group or the society, I don't want you to think then that has to be like just leaders. There are people who take stands / make changes in all facets of life. And I'm really interested to see in the facets that matter to you, who is somebody who has been a standout, you know? So this can be within like sports and entertainment and music and culture and writing, but it can also be like within within human rights or within music or within the social media sphere, within business, within like entrepreneurial things, within marketing, within like all sorts of areas, so that you are able to look in a group that matters to you, right? And then again, not just starting, so that's kind of the culture part of it, and then not just like starting at the point where they make the big thing. What is their story? Like how are they like where do they start? What are the things that build them up to the moment, or what moments kind of present themselves to the point where they are able to be equipped to kind of face the abyss, you enter the cave, you know, stand up and do the thing that makes them superb. Okay, so that's your call. Basically, the flip side is that, and I've already tried this in film studies, so I think that it should work out okay. So it's you're going to design complete presentation. You know, you're welcome to use the circle. I'll make sure that there's a copy of that as well. Although I don't want it to just be like a handouty sort of thing. I mean, this is like a cool presentation where you can tell us some things. And because it is in a funky kind of digital space, sorry, you've had to listen. Sorry, I just peeked in. It's 9:19, so anyway, because like some years I've had people do like make a whole game, and like even they like baked card pieces and hand out things, and sometimes people make cakes, and sometimes people do have done other things, and then sometimes they have done, you know, PowerPoints and whatnot, and all of that is good. So, but what you will do is sign up, and I want people to be able to watch at least 3 other people's presentations. So it would be like a rolling set of time slots, basically, where you tune in, and then during your time slot, and then you watch and then give, and then, you know, once you have watched 3 or 4 other people's, then you get to like tune back out. Does that make sense? And we were able to do almost all of them on one day. So it actually took like a day and a half of people signing in for what a good time was, what time they would be able to do. Okay. That's how that presentation thingy works. Now, covering the aspects of the hero's journey that apply to your hero. So, I mean, again, I don't know what that Z is for. I must have like, I don't ignore that Z. The main parts of that whole of a call of and what the overall call is, but living in that ordinary world / the status quo world, you know, what was their situation before they were like, you know, they stepped up and started doing some cool things. Generally where did they cross into like, oh, we're now testing ourselves? Sorry, I should be doing it this way because the circle, okay. The threshold guardian, is there a mentor that is giving them, you know, the wisdom that they kind of need and wouldn't be able to acquire a different way? What kind of things, smaller items, get them ready for things? when do you see them kind of like commit and zero in on this goal for like that approach, and entering the cave? What is that the central thing for which they are known? How does that impact the rest of their lives? What do they bring back for people? How do they kind of take on their new identity or continue on? I mean, a lot of times, great figures, there is the thing that brings them to national attention, and then we see them continue to be advocates for the cause. Your presentation must include an outside component. It can include, but is not limited to, any of the following. So that's basically so that rather than just doing what I'm doing right now of like talking at you, that there is something else where you get to show us something in action, or you get to show some cool evidence of the different little things. You don't have to do like a lost wax casting of a bronze figure of something like that, but just as a chance to peek out into the outside world. And if you have a really cool idea of, well, could I do this? The answer is most likely yes, but also you can email and ask. What I would like to see is just that you have made a thoughtful choice about things that matter to you, and somebody that has attained something worthwhile, and then you being able to dig into it and actually saying, all right, well, how did this person get to this place? And did they happen to secretly be mythic as they were doing it? Okay, so the question that you probably have is, when is this due? I'll schedule out the times so that you can still you can present anytime on Thursday that doesn't conflict with one of your other classes. I mean, like, I'll probably cut the cord at sometime in the early-ish afternoon, just because then I accidentally go brain dead and I'm like, yes, no, that sounds great, and then I have no memory of the things. So I'll make sure that that's happening. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, how does that sound? And then finally, one more apology. I love to apologize. I'm an over apologizer at the end, but so sorry that just COVID-19 just started. It caught up with me. And so sorry about lackluster Monday class. All right. Hope you're doing well. I'll be staying on here for office hours, and I'll be continuing trying to make sure that your grades are grades that actually fit. Sound good? Okay. Take care, peeps.